The downside to living on a lovely green orb heated and lit by the sun is ultraviolet light. Aside from what it does to your leathery old face, it does something similar to all that black plastic trim on the outside of your car, turning it kind of a sad shade of Soviet gray. So let's learn how to use some new products to turn the clock back to black. Okay, before we get started, in my experience, I lump the products we're going to use into 4 buckets. First of all, you've got your restoratives here. These are the products that are what you normally think of. They take something gray and turn it black again. A lot of these have got names like nano this and nano that. Probably about as accurate as when you see AI applied to something these days, but whatever. If it works, and the ones I've got here do seem to do that. Once you get beyond appearance, there's function. This is a seal conditioner. Black rubber seals have a different need: to stay pliable in the face of UV light. We're going to play with that as well. When you're done, a protectant is great. You're thinking Armor All, but there are some that are even more specific about UV blocking to make sure the work you just did stays effective for a while. And finally, a separate carve out for things like vinyl tops if you've got a vintage car, or all that pleather in your car, or those plastic clear windows on some convertibles. They need a different kind of UV restorative. Let's get to work. Okay, the first restorer I've got here has an interesting process. It lets you dilute it with water, and depending on the ratio, you achieve not a different level of black, they say, but a different level of sheen or gloss. That can be particularly useful when you use this on tires, where that super shiny look is about as cool as the polished wheel look. Little dated. But most of these products are pretty simple. They come out of the bottle just like they are. You put them on a microfiber rag in this case. I think that's the best way to go, with a little bit of texture, but not something that's going to scratch your plastic parts. And then work it in like you mean it. Because what you'd want to do here is take off some of the damaged surface. Not a lot of it. You're not going to sand these parts, because that would be a big mistake. But you really want to put some elbow grease into it and get down in there and remove some of the damaged plastic. Now, if you think this is going to be like some TV infomercial where you wipe it on, wipe it off, and 5 minutes later you're down by the pool with the kids, forget it. It doesn't work that way. This requires some effort. I think it also requires 2 or 3 applications over the span of an hour or 2. And by the way, don't do this out in the sun. It's like polishing a car. It's best done in some shade or in the garage. The more you work at this, the longer it will last. It won't necessarily be blacker, but it will stay black longer. And that's key, because let's face it, this isn't any fun. Now, what we just did is cosmetic. The black parts should look black so the car has better contrast and just looks sharper and younger. But this is a real functional thing we're going to tackle here. The UV damage that can happen to door seals, trunk seals, all kinds of things, especially if they're exposed to the light. Some of these aren't, some of these are. They're closer or further away from the sun. I'm going to use this protectant I've got here that is just for rubber seals. It goes on differently in this case. You're going to take it, and I like to put it on pretty generously, and you let it sit for a while and get it all in the crevices and all the surfaces there. It doesn't look like much. This isn't a cosmetic treatment. But wherever you've got damaged rubber, you kind of sponge that on, and it says let it sit for half an hour to get in there. Then you come back and wipe off any excess. Now, this stuff's really important if you drive older cars, vintage cars, or hang on to your cars a long time. I think I fit all 3 of those categories. Because after about 10 years or so past production, a lot of times these rubber seals start to become unobtainium. And even if you do find a set, they never quite fit the way the factory ones did. So just take care of the originals. Okay, so you spent all day in front of your driveway fiddling around, rubbing stuff into black plastic parts as your neighbor drove back and forth to the pool down at the community center laughing at you. So you don't want to do this again anytime soon. Let's protect our work. This is a protectant spray specifically meant to block UV. Now, this isn't going to be like applying window tint or keeping your car in a carport, but it's a little micro layer of hopefully some kind of UV blocking. This is just to give it a little bit of a surface that will be shielded against nasty Mr. Sun. Okay, our last step in UV protection and restoration is going to be to go after vinyl plastics that are inside that are more about upholstery and trim. This stuff here is marine grade vinyl cleaner and conditioner. I get really good luck with this. It's also great for vinyl tops, for you vintage car owners who might have a fantastic brome sitting in the garage. Put a little bit of this on the rag as usual. It's the same old instructions. And then work it in there. This is just like everything else we've done. You're going to be paid dividends if you take some effort on working this in there. Don't rip anything, but get it in there. really work on that surface that got degraded. And then when you're done, you buff off the excess. Don't look for a shine here so much as a richness, and over time, a pliability that remains in the material, especially these shoulder areas of seats. These get cooked all the time. They sit right up inside the glass, and they often break and get brittle. Mine aren't, because I'm going to keep them nice this way. Okay, looking pretty good, looking a lot younger, looking a lot sharper. The details are what make a car look good, to be honest. That's why they call it detailing. How long will this last? If you do a really good job, in my experience, I can go 6 months before I really notice that it's faded back again. Sometimes a year, depending on how much you're scrutinizing it. You will not or should not have to do this every car wash or every month. Forget it, no one's going to do that unless you've got a collectible or vintage car. So get out there, do it right, see if you don't love your car more. I bet you will. And most importantly, a lot of those difficult parts to replace down the road may never need it.